Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. Good to be with y'all. Happy Sunday, or whatever day of the week it is when you're tuning in. Yes. Yes, lovely to see your beautiful faces. Okay. Well, a reminder, please sign up for our next online retreat, August 25th through the 27th, where we will be focusing on the strength of Buddha nature. Of course, strength is something we really need on the spiritual path. And sometimes strength carries us through, like when we're having a really difficult time, a really painful time in life, or if we lose faith. But strength also creates this energy of alertness, of awakeness, of being fully here, fully present. Like that's actually a quality of strength that it's not often acknowledged. And for most of us, our egoic psychology or our conditioning or Enneagram type kind of rules us. It rules how we live in the world, how we interact. It literally rules our energy levels. And the thing that I would like, us to focus on tonight, and this will be one of the focuses on the retreat, is this power of choice. Again, this is a quality of strength. And so if we all just close our eyes, we'll just play around a little bit with some meditative inquiry. And I invite you to feel into your body and to be deeply honest about, well, how's your energy? Like, how is your energy level? Do you feel as if you're firing on all cylinders? Do you feel if there's something running in the background? Or whether it's an unconscious energy, some type of fantasy, some type of fight. And so let's just take a moment and I'll ask you, with your eyes closed, to feel into your experience, just to notice, well, how is my energy? What is my energy like in this moment? What is my energy like in most moments? And what affects this energy? What affects the flow, the expansion of your consciousness, the ever-present nature of your consciousness? Like, what is it in your life? And again, it can be anything from a substance. A lot of people drink coffee or caffeine and these types of things, and that can make our energy go up and go down. Some of us think way too much, and that really disperses our energy. Some of us fight for things that aren't necessarily here. And I invite you to feel just right into your central channel and ask, well, what is the truth of my energy? Like, what is the true power and expression of my energy, of your soul, of your being, of your presence? What is the true expression of it? And so if we just take a moment and we see where you lose energy, and you see the truth of your energy, a great question we could ask is, well, what needs to change, or what needs to be released? What needs to let go? What am I ready to be done with? What do I need to put a boundary around? And so we can just take a moment and say, okay, I'm willing to put a boundary around being plugged into my past, chasing after the future, fighting with what my neighbor said. Then I'm going to invite us all together just to take a moment, and I'll ask you this question. What is it that you choose? How do you choose to be? What do you choose for your life, for this incarnation? What do you choose? How do you choose to live in alignment with your truth? What do you choose to let go of, and what do you choose to step into to support your true energy expression? The movement, the flow, the power of your soul. Power of your soul. And so I invite you just to take a moment now, just to notice your energy, how it's actually more intense now than when it was just a couple minutes ago. Can you notice this? A greater level of presence, of awake awareness. For some of you, it might be very subtle, just this very subtle stream of divinity flowing right through the central channel. Okay, directness, of power. Power. This energy, this quality of feeling of uprightness. This energy we call in Zen strong back. Strong back. And I invite all of you to inwardly say this: I know who and what I am. I know who and what I am. It's not my ego. It's this truth, this light, this love, this power. And so I'm inviting you in this moment to see, to acknowledge, to embody your presence, to see, to acknowledge, to embody your true divine nature. To claim it, to make the choice. Make the choice. To be what you are. To be what God made you to be. To make the choice. To be the goddess, the Buddha, the warrior that you are. That you are. And we'll just take a couple more deep breaths here. And just in this moment, from a place of humility, let us call upon the grace of the Divine Mother to come more fully through us, to support our highest nature coming forward. We're inviting her grace, her majesty, her man's majesty to begin to flow down through the crown, and inviting our subtle energetic body to begin to open and come into greater alignment. So sometimes on the path we get dusty, we get dirty, we get ourselves all wrapped up in a karmic vortex or trauma vortex or whatever it is. But in this moment, I'm just feeling this grace pour down. So let's just go with it. We're inviting the grace of the Divine Mother to clear out any confusion in our crown chakra, clearing out any confusion or any limiting beliefs in the space of the mind, any overly confused or serious attached opinions, letting it all go, letting it empty, letting any intense mental activity just to release, letting our mind be wiped away and flooded with a great sense of peace and light and radiance, welcoming a greater intelligence and intuitive truth. This grace pouring down, clearing out our throat, clearing out anything stuck in the throat. So often in the throat, we hold ourselves back. It's a place where we bite our tongue and hold ourselves back. We're inviting the throat to open so we can be expressive beings of light, of love, of peace, of strength, of power, of righteousness. Opening our hearts and inviting this grace to pour down more fully, the grace, the love of the Divine Mother pouring into our heart, awakening our hearts to the true nature of bliss, of love, of compassion. For some of us, we may need to take a big exhale and forgive someone or something, let go of the past, letting the past die, and just welcoming this, just a great sense of love, bliss flowing into our heart, expanding throughout the ribs, blessing the front of the heart, behind the heart, the ribs, below the heart, flowing into the solar plexus. This quality of love and light, opening and clearing out the solar plexus, flowing down into the hara, lower belly, the pelvis, the root. It's like this fountain of light pouring over your being, pouring over your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your torso, flowing down through your legs, your feet, and into the earth itself. Blessing the earth. Blessing the earth. And so I welcome you. I welcome you to satsang. Welcome you into this moment. I welcome you into your divinity. So you can open your eyes if you like, or you can continue to relax in a meditative state. That's fully welcome as well. It's good to see you. It's good to see the true you. The true you. You know, it's a funny thing when we interact with another human being. It's a great question is, do we see the real person? Or do we see just their egoic reactivity? Do we see their conditioning? Do we see their old, tired self? And then, of course, we can ask the same question, like, what do we present to the world? Are we walking through life like a zombie? Like a zombie. Like a zombie. I had this funny thing pop up on my YouTube, I guess just on the YouTube page. And I saw this lady, she was in like Japan or something. And there's all these people in the background just like going about their life, like they were rushing to get on a subway. And here she was, like she had like a bloody zombie face. I didn't click on it, but I was like, oh, look, a zombie. Like, look, a zombie. But most of us, like, we walk around in this world like a zombie. Like a zombie. Now, we're not going to have the bloody zombie face, but just like a sleepwalking zombie. Just a sleepwalking zombie. And of course, that's not the truth of us. And in this world, it's very easy to be a sleepwalking zombie. Especially when things get stressful here on planet Earth. Like even today here in Durango, where I'm at, I don't really have a big stressful life, but there was like right now we're having some heat, so it was like, I don't know, 86, 87, 88 degrees today. It's windy, it's really dry. I had my list of projects to do, and it was just hot. And with the heat, I noticed I started to get like kind of sloppy, kind of lazy. And then I just started to take on like this persona of like manana, like I'll just do it tomorrow, like just manana. I kept kind of hearing this energy of manana just come up, but it was coming from like a place in my mind that's just a little sleepy, that's kind of giving up. And I looked at it and I just asked, like, is this truth? And it was like, no, this isn't the truth. This isn't the truth for me to be lazy and for me to be sloppy and for me to give up. But the truth was I needed some rest. Like it was hot and I needed some rest. And I had a little rest. I take these, sometimes these little 20-minute breaks where I just lay down in Shavasana. And then my body recharged. And then the truth came on. Truth came on. I'd say, okay, now let's do it. Let's handle the situation now. Let's handle it now. This is a great question for us on the path, is what is the truth? What is the truth? Now, many of us on the spiritual path, we are so accustomed to surrender. But many of us are not accustomed to choosing, to using our power of choice. Again, this is this quality of strength where we are choosing, one, like what to do here on planet Earth, what to do, how to do it, choosing to take the next step, choosing how to be energetically, how to be energetically. So all of us, if we are not careful, just our genes, our DNA, the epigenetics, the conditioning of us, well, we'll just be like mom or dad. Like we grow up and then we just become them. It's like, how did that happen? Like I walk like my father. I speak like my father. I do this, I do that like my father. I do this like my mother. And again, so your genes are just like in a sleepy way, just pushing you in this very gentle, subtle way, like this autopilot kind of way, just to to be like your parents, to be like the past. But this quality of strength, this quality of Buddha nature, this quality of divine nature, invites you to be ever present, ever awake, and tuned into your next evolutionary step, your next evolutionary manifestation here on planet Earth is, what is the truth in this moment? And this moment is going to be different than the moment before. It's going to be different than last year at this time. What is your truth? What is the truth? And do you take the time to choose the truth? If I take the time, I mean, do you stop? Do you stop? You press pause on the autopilot of your life and say no to habit. Now, Aurobindo spoke about these two great forces, the force of habit and the force of evolution. These two forces hold our universe together. Like the force of habit keeps everything together, but the force of evolution keeps everything growing in a way that supports life. That supports life. Like life is always pushing itself, just very subtly, sometimes very overtly, to grow, to change into something greater. But life is also, as this force, just keeping everything same. And so some of us, we just get in this sleepy, kind of spiritually sleepy, maybe it's a philosophical mind state, or maybe it's just like sleepy, emotionally reactive mind state, where we're just a product of our past, or we are a product of the past. But the question I'm going to invite you all to play with this week is, what is it that I choose? What do I choose? What do I choose? And we could play with it right now. You know, I'll invite you to write something in the chat. You tell me what it is that you choose. What are you choosing for your life? What are you choosing for your life? Are you choosing the highest, or are you choosing the past? What are you choosing? And so you tell me. So Kyle writes, I want to be a warrior for the light. Yes. A warrior for the light. Well, how about that? How about that? A divine warrior. A divine warrior. Angel Prem writes, love and unification for all beings. Yeah. Love and unification for all beings. Justina writes, I'm choosing love, joy, simplicity, peace, the vibrancy of my heart, the strength in my being. Yes. Beautiful, Justina. Justina, what about you being a wild kundalini Shakti goddess? Kundalini Shakti goddess. Justina showed us during the retreat. Her wild kundalini Shakti goddess. It came forward and blessed us all during one of the meditations. Don says, I'm choosing not to escape into spacious awareness. Good, Don. So Don, one of the things about spacious awareness is the demon of spacious awareness is this. is sleepiness, is sleepiness. And so you'll see this like sometimes with a lot of good Buddhists, you know, when they're meditating, they just start getting sleepy and sleepy and sleepy. Just because there's so much space, and space just kind of bleeds over into peace, and peace bleeds over into just kind of a silent, like sleepiness, a head nodding kind of spirituality. Yeah. To be with the darkness of fear, anger, and sadness, trusting to open to the grace of the Divine Mother, the courage to let go of control and let her take over. Yeah. Yeah. And Don, one of the things that I'm going to encourage you to do as a stepping stone, and we can all play with this, is often we like have kind of like our spiritual realm that we hang out in. Let's say like with Don, he's saying this peace and spacious awareness. And then we want to make this big leap and say, okay, I want to let go of my anger and my fear, my anger, my sadness, and just open into the Divine Mother. And that's a beautiful, huge leap. Now, what we've learned from evolution is often when we try to make a huge leap and we skip steps, sometimes we get ourselves in trouble. Like if any of us tried, I mean, it sounds silly, but if we tried to skip puberty, like it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And sometimes little kids try this, you know, they try to just all of a sudden be an adult. And it's like, hey, you need to give yourself permission to go through puberty, because through puberty, you develop this strength. You get to know yourself and what you're made out of. Don, I'm going to invite you to get to know your anger and the sadness and the fear a little more fully, and to see if there is something you can, I'm going to use like a gardening word, harvest, you know, especially with anger. So when we find ourselves a little too spacious and then a little too sleepy, you know, what we find is if we get in touch with our anger, begin to harvest some energy out of it, then when we come back into that spacious awareness, we feel as it's big, it's alive, it's radiant, it comes with this rumbling thunder. And so it doesn't feel just like stillness, it feels more like a spaciousness with an immensity here, And so I'm going to encourage you to play with this, Yeah, it's very good. And you know, I'm going to say this. You know, over the last couple months, I've been hearing this word just coming into my consciousness. It's not really a word. I guess I was just getting this vision. And so I kept getting this vision of a bow, you know, like a bow and an arrow. And it just kept popping into my consciousness. I thought, this is, you know, I didn't pay much attention to it, but it came with a weight. And sometimes it was just like some of my friends were talking about a bow. Then it was my daughter, my daughter's friend. So we're talking like 9-year-old. This is actually 8 or 7-year-old little girl that my daughter's been playing with. And this other little girl has a bow. You know, again, like a bow and an arrow. And then, you know, it just popped into my mind the other day as like, you know, I was just started to think about, you know, just, you know, like just playing around with a bow and an arrow. And I like started hearing like bow hunting. And again, this is very strange for me, with my vegetarian vegan background for 30 some years now, but and my daughter, she came to me and she said, "Dad, can I get a bow and arrow?" I said, yeah, like let's do it. Let's do it. Like there was something that was wanting to come forward in her. where she said she wanted a bow and arrow. And I said, okay, well, if you're getting one, I got to get one, because I gotta, I want to do it with you, like I want to connect with you in this way. This is something that Ani and me can do together. And I want to be a little blunt here, just as a father, like I'm very supportive in her trying new things. And, like whatever it is, I'll go buy it and we'll do it together. But sometimes with little kids, they just do it once. And then as a parent, you're like, oh, dang it, spent all this money. The kid's not even really using this thing. But again, I just kept hearing this truth in me, bow, bow. And I kept just seeing this vision. And so we ended up at the hunting shop, and I took my little girl in there, and the hunting shop is really a gun shop. Is what it is. And it's things that go bang and things that silently go bang. And I grew up very comfortable with this type of thing in my life, and so I'm not scared of it. But my wife, like, she didn't want to come in the store, so I dropped her off at the pet store, and I said, well, you go get some treats for Doodles. Me and my little girl are going to go inside. And so we went inside, and my little girl she became so alive. So alive. And me, to be honest, like I feel at home around, anything's warrior related, just because just the family I grew up in and just my nature. So I'm real comfortable in a shop like this. And so we're playing around, and my daughter was so happy. And so I tried to get her a bow, but we realized that she needs a left-handed one. And so anyways, we went across the street and just got our cheap little toy one at the sporting goods store. And we've been having a good time together. A good time, shooting bow and arrows and really, just working with this energy of strength, of power. And I can tell you, like, if any of you've ever shot like a professional bow, like a compound bow, if you're just shooting it at targets or whatever, you ever shoot a firearm, there is something. You ever shoot a BB gun and you hit you hit the tin can, there is something radically satisfying about power, the expression of power. And very easily we could say, oh, that's some egoic thing, like that's an ego thing. And again, spiritual people are so comfortable with just laying back, and we're just going to let everything be done by God, by grace, by the Divine Mother. I surrender my will to you, God, this and that. What the Divine Mother does not need in this world is lazy spiritual beings with no will, with no strength. The Divine Mother doesn't need an army of wet noodles. That's not what's going to change planet Earth. For this world to change, the divine needs an army of spiritual warriors. Now, the difference, this is going to sound silly, but the difference between a wet noodle, a spiritual wet noodle, and a spiritual warrior is the spiritual warrior knows and has worked with their anger, has harnessed that anger and transmuted it into power. Into power. And then when this being who's transmuted their egoic anger, their rage, their fury, that being who has transmuted that into power when they pray and say, God, work through me, then God works through a very powerful being, an incredibly powerful being. But when God works through a wet noodle, a sleepy noodle, not much happens. Not much happens. And so I say this often, if you've ever been around a great spiritual master, when they walk in the room, they tend to scare us with their presence because their presence is so big. It takes up so much space. They know who and what they are, and they know what their life is about. And they have chosen it every step of the way. And I'm going to say something that will sound what's it called when you say something like against the church, an admonishment? Is that what it is? It'll sound, crass, rude, heretical. Am I saying that right? Blasphemous. There's the word. That's the word I'm looking for. Blasphemous. I love these things. It's like a biblical word. Blasphemous. That's where, yeah, find that flow of what I was going to say again. A spiritual master, they will wake up despite their ego. And now here comes the blasphemous part. And they're going to wake up despite God. And by that, what I mean by that, because I want to be really clear about what I mean by that, because of course that's not true. But it is true in this sense that through them choosing with 100% of their being, 100% of their presence, 100% of their soul, they are going to wake up, and they're not going to have to wait for God to wake them up. Because the God in them, through choosing, you become God. Whereas normally when I teach, I say, okay, it's all grace, it's all God, it's all, we sit back, we open, we receive. And of course, that's true from one perspective. But from this moment, what I'm inviting us to step into is this power of choice, of your highest nature choosing to be awake, choosing to be here, choosing to be a warrior. And for you to know and experience your highest nature, you can't have all these parts of yourself, divided parts of yourself, running in the background, gobbling up all your energy, using up all your energy. Like if any of you, know anything about technology, is your computer somewhere in it. Like if it's a Mac, what it's called is you have this, I guess it's an application called Activity Monitor. And it will show you everything that's running in the background, everything that's using up, RAM or disk space, energy, power. But human beings, like, we don't have that per se. When I have a little button and we can say, okay, oh my God, I'm using 30% of my energy fighting with a bully in my head that attacked me when I was 12 years old. We don't have that monitor that can just pinpoint exactly and show, oh, I'm spinning all these programs of the past. I'm spinning my father's whatever. And for me, it'd be alcoholism. Like this spinning in the background. Like how much energy does addiction take up in the background? So these are like all the background tasks. But when you choose to be awake, you choose to be radically honest about who you are, what your life is about, and you choose to see very clearly, oh, look what's going on in my egoic nature. Look, there's this thing and 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 this thing. Now, if we're going to speak with Freud or Jung or, some people in the psychology world, well, they call this thing the unconscious. But how much of ourself, how much of our energy is running in the unconscious? Like many people in the song, look at you directly, say, many people in this room just have a critic that's constantly belittling themselves. It's like, how much energy does that thing use? Just to have this critic saying, you're bad, you're wrong, you're bad, you're wrong, you're no good, you'll never wake up, you're a failure, you're a rotten, no good scoundrel, and it's like, my Lord, it's a lot of energy there. Now, it takes us a little bit of energy to look at that critic and say, hey girl, hey guy, hey man, like what's going on? Like, what is going on with you? Relax, breathe, trust. How can I help you? Can I get you a glass of water? Can I get you a piece of cake? Like, can I do something sweet? Can I meet you with love and forgiveness? Can I bring you in the present moment and see, like, there is no reason to be attacking ourselves right now? No reason. No reason. No reason. No reason to attack ourselves. Now, I can tell you that I actually worked with this. I've been working with this like very deep in my unconscious. I've been finding these just little layers, little hidden layers. As I'm laying in meditation, I find these little layers of anger, kind of like an anger, but like mixed and contorted with a sadness. And so, like if anyone studies body work, like if you go get a massage, if you get some deep rolfing, like you might find these layers like deep in your hips. Like they get in there with their elbows and they're working you over in your hips and your bottom. Like you might find, oh my God, there's some anger there, there's some rage there, there's some sadness there, there's heartache there. As I was working a little bit, not a little bit, actually a lot, I've been working with these layers, like almost like these primal layers from when I was a kid and later on in life. And I saw them come up, like these little bits of anger. There were situations where I was bullied or where I was powerless. Where I was powerless. Where I was powerless. And this funny thing happened. It's like life, it's so strange, it's so interconnected. As my little girl, she came to me, she said, Dad, can I get a bow and arrow? And it's like, okay. Because what I want for my little girls, I want her to feel strong. I want her to feel like a warrior. I'm going to do show and tell real quick. Okay. So everyone just hold on a second. You just hang down. Let's see if y'all can see me here. So this is a weapon. This thing can kill. This thing has power in it. Power. Tremendous power. It's an expression of power. Like when you put a bow in your hand, you feel this strength. you feel this power when you let that arrow, when you let it fly, when you let it rip. And it's got these big cams on it. It's a compound bow, and it's just, there's this beautiful feeling, this beautiful tantric feeling. I got to put this thing down. This tantric feeling. I'm going to stay. Of energy moving through your body. Moving through your body. And that what happened is my little girl, like she's shooting these arrows and she's feeling her power. She pulls the bow back and she lets it rip. She feels her power moving out of her belly, moving out of her imagination, and then running into the target. And boy, whenever you shoot a bow like this one, like that I have, it's so much power, so much force. And this funny thing is, I'm just out there just trying to be a good dad and shoot my bow with my little girl. And I noticed these little bits of anger that I've been working with, just very like tantrically, meditatively, contemplatively, all that kind of these spiritual realms, but all these realms, we're with our eyes closed and we're feeling, and it's somatic, and it's kind of, I'm just going to use this word just because, just to use it for comparison. It's a little bit sleepy, a little bit sleepy. But when you're standing like strong in a great athletic stance, and you pull this bow back, like my wife, it's like, come here, babe, you can shoot it. Actually, my little girl was really wanting her to shoot it. So my wife said, okay, let me try. She couldn't pull it back. She couldn't pull it back, and like it takes force to pull it back. It's like you have to be in your body. And you have to be conscious, because again, like this thing will rip your fingers off. Again, like the force that comes out of it is enough to take down an elk. But what I'm trying to get at here is, I started to see, as I was just firing the bow, and this was very unexpected, these little bits of anger that I've been working with for so long in this deeply contemplative, meditative way, shavasana, like deeply feeling into it, inviting it forward, and feeling bits of rage. I started to feel them go through my muscles into the arrow and fly out of me and thump right into that bullseye. Thump, 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 thump with each arrow. It was like it was liberating something. It wasn't like that. It was helping to move something out of my belly, out of my hips. And the reason I bring this up, I'm not trying to get anyone interested in bow hunting. I'm not trying to get, or target shooting, or not trying to get anyone interested in going to jujitsu like that. Like, you don't need to do any of that. But what I am trying to communicate here is, when we choose to do something empowering, when we choose to be in our body, when we choose to act, when we choose to throw a ball, or like there was these places a couple of years ago, it's like right before COVID, maybe even before that, there were these axe throwing places that started popping up all over the country. Like, to me, it's just like the most silly thing. But people would go there and they'd say, it is so much fun to get an axe, and you huck it, like they huck it at like a big target, but it's got to be a big piece of wood that they're hucking it at, that it sticks into. And so they have these axe throwing places, because there's this thing that we've stopped doing because our lives are so virtual. Our lives are so imagined. Our lives are so, computerized. Is there something that our physical body needs, the consciousness of our physical body needs to be able to express its power, needs to be able to. Are you guys writing funny things in the chat? What's going on here? I'm not going to pay attention to the chat. We need to be able to express our power physically, outwardly, not just meditatively, not simply meditatively. We have to express our power in the world. And as we do so, we might find that through the expression of your power, through it being expressed outwardly, this may be just as healing as going and doing an hour-long session with a trauma healing somatic body worker therapist, whatever it is. Spiritual people need to act, need to be informed, need to be moved, responsive to the truth, need to be moved by the truth. And this requires some level of action. Now, ultimately, in the most non-dual sense, this is God moving through you, in you, through you, as you. And this is the transformation as it becomes as you. Because ultimately, like this idea, like if we go back, like we could very easily say, oh, Craig, he just found another toy to play with, and this is a thing of the ego and this and that. This was not my idea, is what I'll tell you. The divine has been speaking through me, to me, dropping these little visions in my mind. And I don't know what it's about until I pick it up and I begin to act it out. Because I could easily pick up some kind of philosophical orientation and say, oh, weapons are acts of violence. Or I could remember the story of Yogananda once. He got a BB gun and he had a lot of fun with it. And then a bird flew in front of his shot and he ended up killing a bird. And it's like, and he put that BB gun down and said, BB guns are bad, guns are bad. And again, like, that's kind of like the old moralistic view. But I'm a tantric man. I'm a tantric fellow. I say, what are some steps we can make? This is a tantric world. This isn't a world just of good. Some things are good and some things are bad. Anything can be an evolutionary step. For a lot of people, joining the army, the military, is an evolutionary step, a huge step. A number of people in the Sangha who've served in the military. They saw that it woke up a warrior within them. Woke up a warrior. And not everyone in the military, like a lot of times when you join the military, you just spend a lot of time training. So not everyone goes to war. And like a lot of times people just went for training and just received this divine training. Something woke up within them. Within them. And so when we choose to act, whether we're following an intuition, let's just leave it at that. Let's all just follow our intuition. Because when we follow our intuition, we're following the grace of God, the will of God in the form of you. And we could call this a teaching on strength. We could also call this a teaching on bhakti yoga. Bhakti is the devotional yoga, the worshiping. It's us worshiping the divine. But God doesn't need us to chant her name. She knows her name. What she needs of us is to follow the truth, to stand in the truth, to speak the truth, to act the truth, to transform that which is darkness into light. And this is such a funny thing for me. It's so funny for me to be out there shooting a bow and arrow and feeling a little bit, I have to admit, a little bit like my country bumpkin came more fully alive. When I picked up that bow, it started to come more fully alive. But I said, look, I'm out here with my little girl. She wanted to do this. So I say, okay. But then I realized, after I started letting those arrows rip, that there was this transmutation that was happening. There's something as silly as shooting a bow. This transmutation was happening. I was seeing that there was a part of me that once felt that it was bullied, to now it was connected to this feeling of being a warrior. And that is healing. That is awakening. And this is a huge aspect of our spiritual path, is for you to be connected to your power, to your power, your strength. Because again, like most spiritual teachings are taught in a way where we just become a noodle. We just become this wet noodle. Surrender, 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 surrender. But very few people teach that surrender means, yes, letting go, but also stepping forward. Stepping forward on the path. Stepping forward in this world. Stepping forward in the truth. And so I will ask you, what is it that you choose? What is your truth? What is it that wants to come forward, that you're willing to back it up with your actual behavior, the embodiment, the manifestation? The manifestation. Again, I'm going to tell a silly story. When I was young, I lived in a house with 17 dirty hippies. And I was one of them. I was one of them. I was one of them. And in this house, we used to all sit around the dinner table together. It was a small table. There wasn't enough seats for all of us. So a lot of those hippies sat on the floor. That was my house. I sat at the table. I sat at the table. But, and the thing that hippies love talking about. Yeah, man, when I get me a piece of land, I'm going to be a farmer. I'm going to have an organic farm. They had this big talk. It's big talk. But hippies are big talkers. Now, out of those 17 hippies talking that talk, 2 of them actually got the piece of land and became farmers. 2 of them. And those 2 boys, one I'm related to, and the other is an old friend, are incredibly hardworking fellas. You look at their hands are like brown and black, and they have all those cracks in them, and their feet, just like one of them wears boots, but the other one, his feet, he's like a real hippie. He wears sandals and farms, and so his feet looks like he's, straight out of, walking the streets of India, for like he never had a pair of shoes on his feet. But anyways, the point being is a lot of people talk. And with spiritual people, maybe we don't talk so much. Maybe we just visualize. But visualizing means nothing. Nothing unless you begin to walk in the direction of the truth. You actually listen to the words of God as they are appearing in your heart. And you say yes. And then we follow it up and we allow our body to be moved, or we choose to move. Both are choices. We allow ourselves to be moved, or we choose to move. We choose to respond. Now, the ego has us in this sleepy autopilot of reactivity. We just react. We're not responding. We're just going with the flow of the ego. But what I'm inviting for us is for us to choose to respond from our highest nature. Whether that's choosing to forgive, whether that's choosing to ask for forgiveness. Sometimes we have to say, okay, I want to stop hating the person I hurt. And I'm going to choose to say, hey, I'm really sorry. Will you forgive me? And in that moment, we join together in a space of intimacy, a space of love, a space of healing. For some of us, it's just the choice of, maybe I'm not just going to keep going back to sleep. Maybe I'm going to actually get up and meditate. Maybe I'm going to get up and do yoga. Maybe I'm going to write that book that I said I was going to write 10 years ago. Maybe I'm going to start sharing my art, my poetry, or my paintings, or whatever it is. I'm going to start sharing the beauty and the wisdom of my heart with my family, my friends, my brothers and sisters on this path. So what is it that you choose? That you choose? Okay, I'm going to take a look here. Jagger writes, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. Energy is what divine power looks like here on earth. Yeah. David writes, I guess is too young to be a real hippie. He was a neo hippie. You can call me whatever you want. Call me whatever you want. Let's see. Okay. I saw my inner critic in the background program for a while. It is basically afraid of being criticized by others. It's trying to protect itself from the criticism that it fears. Yeah, it's a funny thing is this is how the inner critic works, is oftentimes it's like I'm afraid of criticism from others. I'm afraid of rejection from others. So I'm going to reject myself first before anyone else can reject me. And somehow that's going to keep me locked up in a little ball and protected from ever going out into the world and experiencing criticism. But then I live in a prison cell of my own criticism. It's like this, this is a really silly math equation. And so, a better question is, what is your truth? And how does this truth want to manifest? How does it want to shine in this world? Are you willing to stand in this truth? Are you willing to stand in this truth? And so, if anyone has a question, please put it in the chat right now. Jagger, I saw your question, but you and I are meeting tomorrow, right? Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I think that'll be a better thing. In a sense, I'm addressing it a little bit about how not to lose our power on the spiritual path. Now, one thing that I'll tell you, Jagger, just for tonight is make sure you're not making yourself wrong if you're losing some energy. Let's start with some softness, some forgiveness. like often, like someone was doing this on the retreat. I can't remember who, but someone was telling me, they said, like, Craig, after every time you spoke, I had my list of Craig says you should do this and you should not do that. And my God, I don't think I do say you should and you should not. I might. I might though. I might say that. If I do, forgive me. This is just, it's an invitation, is what I want you to imagine here. Is the teachings are an invitation. This isn't a moral code. And I'm not trying to rewrite the Ten Commandments or anything. This is part of the job as a spiritual teacher, is to offer an efficient path. An efficient path. And so, of course, there are things which are wise, which are supportive to the growth and the opening and the awakening of your heart. And then there are some things that, well, where we just lose a lot of energy. Where we lose a lot of energy. Okay. Well, one more thing I'd like to say. For those of you who were with me on Wednesday night, you have to forgive me. I lost power Wednesday night. I wasn't able to tell anyone because I lost power. And like the last 10 minutes of meditation, I disappeared. But we had a wind lightning storm or something. And I lost power for a couple hours. So forgive me for that. We'll forgive God for that. Okay, well, let's, oh, it looks like Terry has a question. Okay. Let's see if we can get Terry here. And Terry, I always have trouble hearing you with the internet. And so I asked you your question short, clear, and direct, and or put it in the chat if I can't hear you. Because sometimes it's just, I don't know if it's the internet or what, but or your mic. So I'm going to unmute you here, Terry.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I've realized that part of my nervousness about speaking publicly is having disagreement. I'm afraid that someone will disagree and there's some kind of, conflict or something. And
yeah. Well, so let me stop you right away. So if we just look at this, I'm afraid of if I speak publicly, that I'll have some disagreements. Now, if we start with this, like as a vibrational frequency of, okay, I'm going to talk. And as soon as I start talking, the person I'm going to talk with is going to disagree with me. The energy that you're going to project to the world is like a defensive argumentativeness. And the people will pick that up. They're going to pick that up intuitively, just like empathetically. And if they're not awake in their own self, they're probably going to start with a fight also. And this is like whenever like people in Congress speak, you have the Democrats, you have the Republicans, it's just like already they're just like, they know they're going to be attacked. And so their tone is just like, is overly assertive, overly condescending, overly trying to shove the truth down the other person's throat. Disaster. It's a disaster. Now, one of the skills that I came in with, just because I'm an Enneagram 9, is Enneagram 9s, when they look out at the world, their whole motivation is making peace. So like the background program for a 9 is just making peace. Like I can talk to anyone. Anyone can be my friend. We can be friendly with anyone. There's this peace here. And so I'm going to invite you to play with this. I don't know where you're at in the Enneagram, and I don't want to go into, sorting that out with you right now, but like, this is something we can learn. Like this is a skill of mediation, the skill of peacemaking. And we start with this attitude of everyone is a divine being. Anyone and everyone can be my friend. Anyone and everyone. And this is how like I walk through life. I don't care if they're a right-wing neocon or a left-wing neoliberal. I can be friends with you. Like I can sort this out. I don't care if you're a Harley biker or you're an old lady on a tricycle, those adult tricycles. I can be friends with you. I can be friends with you. I can be on your team. I can find a common ground. And so when we're stepping into the role, because you've spoken a lot about, well, I'm going to step into the role of sharing. What sharing is like, it's all about, well, who is my audience? And how can I speak in a way? There was some famous book from the old days, like speak in a way so that you're heard, something like that. Like, how can you speak so other people will hear you, will listen to you, will understand you? And so we don't want to
Yeah.
start with this sense of, as soon as I start, it's going to be an argument, but they're going to attack me, they're going to judge me. I want you to imagine that when you speak, everyone understands you. Everyone likes you. I want you to imagine
I,
starting with, we're all on the same page. We're all on the same
yeah.
page. We're all
Um,
on the same page. And the thing with the insecurity is to really comfort that insecurity. So find a way that you can discover your insecurity inside and bring her to the foreground and make her first feel welcome. And then from her innocence and her purity, after she feels welcome, the insecure one, you let her speak. Because when insecurity feels welcome and she no longer feels insecure, and then it's no longer in her tone or her voice, and often that energy will come out in playfulness and lightheartedness instead of people are going to want to fight and judge and attack. Now, I'll say this because you've spoken to me a couple of times about you sharing online. The thing about online is often, whether it's an online forum or groups or Twitter or whatever it is, some reasons like people go there to fight. They go there to fight, and just like maybe like with me playing with my bow, it might be a place where people go to fight, to flex their muscles, to try their ideas out, and just go to philosophical warfare with other human beings. I don't know, but that's something I never understood. I don't want to fight with anyone online. To me, it's like
well,
a terrible way to communicate with another human being. And but if we just stay with, I want you to look at yourself and how you feel right before you share. Like, is it arising from insecurity or I need to prove something, or a fear that I won't be seen, I won't be acknowledged?
I, I, now that you're saying that, I feel that it's some kind of egoic. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe I'm trying to prove something. Maybe there's like this insecurity or something.
Good, good,
Um,
good. So
I also,
I just want you to stay with that. So the
okay.
question I want you to play with is, what am I trying to prove? Who am I trying to prove it to? And why? And the way I want you to play with these questions is, I don't want you to make anyone in the room bad or wrong. I don't want you to call this egoic. I want you to look and see,
Okay.
there's something in me that's trying to prove something. And if we look at that from a really soft perspective, all it means when we're trying to prove something is there's a part of our own self that I don't fully see. Normally we blame the world. We say, my father didn't see me, my mother didn't see me, my husband doesn't see me, my partner doesn't see me. And so now when I go out into the world, I need to show them who I like, whoa, 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 whoa. What if you see you? What if we just start with that, with you seeing the part of you that feels insecure, and welcoming her into the lap of the Divine Mother, welcoming her into this moment, letting her know she has a seat at the table, that she has a seat at the table. And there's this funny thing that happens. The more you fully hear yourself, the more fully others hear you. The more you don't hear and see yourself, the more people will see you as insecure, and they'll respond to your insecurity. Like, oh, she's got something to hide, and I need to poke at her and challenge her. And actually, that's actually life just trying to work the truth out. That's not even a bad thing either. Like when someone pokes at your insecurity, that's
True.
life showing you, hey, there's a place here where you're not awake. And
True.
that's not even a bad thing anyway, either. So anyways, you play with this. So what was the question again? It was who, like what is it you got to prove? Who is it you got to prove it to? And why? Like why? Like what's going on really with this? And then can I love that? Can I love that?
Yeah. Although I do want to let you know that in Twitter, I'm just in these spiritual circles and everybody's so crazy nice.
Oh, really? You must be in some good spiritual circles because
It's all about who you follow, right? So,
okay.
you know,
Yeah. No, that's great because I've seen some of those Facebook discussions get real nasty real quick in the spiritual circles. It's like, my Lord, we're this is a spiritual group here. It's not a college debate class, not a college debate class. Well, that's good. So that's good that the people there are kind. And so,
yeah,
and so another thing just to play with is like what do I need to do to be more relaxed in my expression of the truth?
yeah,
Like, what do I need to do to be more relaxed? And again, that often has to do with you seeing you. You truly seeing your depth and your beauty and your wisdom. And when you really see it, often like we don't need to express it. But it still might want to be expressed because that's the truth. But we're not expressing from a place of neediness of wanting to be seen. We're expressing from a place of love. From a place of love.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Good. Well, beautiful. Good to see you, Terry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Is Angel here?
Hello.
Oh, hey, Angel.
Hi. I really like this talk. It seems to be what's very alive for me at the moment, anger. And I kind of want to somatically express it in the physical, but I will shut myself. Like, for example, yesterday, I could feel it as I was going about my things, and I was just like, okay, hello, anger. And I went to go and start punching my bed and my pillows, and I like let out a big scream.
Yeah.
And then my poor beautiful dog came over and was like looking like all scared and like,
Yeah.
oh. And I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then like I go into this like sadness.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is what's under the surface.
Yeah.
It's like lots of things that I could have been mad about. And I when you said like it's this brings you into your body, it gives you power, it's not this wet noodle, like that feels really alive and really, really truthful. But I feel like I'm so scared of not being accepted, or I get a lot of like seeing myself as evil.
What's your dog's name?
Disco.
Did you say Disco?
Like ooh, disco.
Okay, so let's I want you to look at Disco real quick. So you had this angry outburst. Does Disco still love you? Is Disco terrified to be in your presence? No. So we have faith and disco's strength. And this is the thing that we often lack on the spiritual path, is like sometimes we think, oh my God, I hurt someone, like this is terrible, I'm bad. But if we actually, and they're going to reject me, they won't like me, this and that. And look, it's true. Like sometimes, like you say the wrong thing to someone, they'll reject you and they won't like you. But ultimately, like when we begin to really see people on the level, not of just ego, not seeing them on a level of a sensitive ego. Like you might have, you scared Disco's nervous system. Yeah, say that was yesterday, but you didn't scare Disco's soul. And this is what I'm inviting you to have faith in, is the soul of other beings, your soul, and just trusting that it's okay. Like it's okay. If Jesus had a little anger, it's okay for you to have a little anger.
Yeah.
And if anger was ultimately wrong and bad and wasn't supposed to be a part of this evolutionary world, then God wouldn't have invented it. And God wouldn't have allowed for it. Like so often people teach, well, the ego is a mistake, and emotions are a mistake, and they're bad and they're wrong. They're not bad and wrong. They're one way of being. And there's a greater way of being. But in order to get to the greater way of being, we have to harness the truth. And with anger, it's power. And with sadness, it's beautiful. It's this very tender compassion. Now, the beautiful thing is when you have strength with a tender compassion, then you can be a heart that's open and unrejectable. And it's unrejectable because you've loved every aspect of yourself. You've loved the angry part and you fully accepted it. You've loved the sad part and fully accepted it. And you see that both are worthy of love. Both are worthy of love. And when we realize both are worthy of love and that we love us fully, we become unrejectable. But if we say, oh, my anger's bad, I scared my dog. Like, I scared Doodles the other night and he wouldn't sleep in bed with us. He was mad. He held a grudge. He held a grudge with me. And my crime was, it was late at night and like I make him go potty before we go to bed. So I'll take him outside. And he didn't want to get up. He was feeling a little sleepy. And I was like, nope, I'm going to take you outside, buddy. I want to take you outside. So I picked him up and brought him outside so he could make a little tinkle before bedtime. And, but he was mad at me. He held a grudge. But ultimately, like on a soul level, of course, he forgives me. Next day, no problem. Next day, I'm sure an hour later after he fell asleep, he forgot even what happened, and he was happy because he just went and slept with my little girl. And so I want you to have faith that it's okay to be human. It's okay to grow. It's okay to have, to move through some emotion. And again, I'm not saying we need to, tell everyone in the world how much we hate them and this and that. Like we don't need to get crazy with it. But if we keep anger and sadness stuck within us, it closes down our heart.
Yeah.
But if we open to it and we're willing to feel it and allow for some healthy expression, some healthy release. And I don't care, like if you're doing the Osho screaming in a pillow or the Osho, the dynamic meditation dance, and the wildness, like, or, it's just like, shooting your bow and arrow, kicking a can, or just going for a run, working out and having to move out through, just a little, exercise or whatever it is. It's like, we just let it move. We let it flow. And we trust if it ever comes out unskillfully, the world's going to be okay. Like this is a world where, there is anger, there is violence, there is aggression. Not all aggression is bad and wrong and terrible. Like sometimes we need to get a little aggressive to get in touch with our power.
Yeah.
And then that power we can use to work with our sadness, to open to parts of us that are insecure and have been rejected by life. And so it's a beautiful thing, angels. You keep opening to the truth, my dear. Yeah. Yeah. You keep opening to the truth. Yeah. Let's have faith in disco. This guy's got a big heart. A big heart. A big heart. So anyways, good to be with you. All right. So much love to each of you. Please sign up for the retreat if you feel called to come. And let's do this. Let's just close our eyes again and really feeling into our hearts, thanking ourselves for being here, thanking ourselves for following the truth. For following the truth. With that, we might open our hearts a little more fully, inviting a greater sense of grace to pour down into our heart, blessing us, blessing our family, blessing our lives, blessing our path. Lord, give us the strength to go forward in your light, in your love, in your truth, in your power, so that we may shine your majesty throughout life here on planet Earth. Use us, Lord, as a vessel of your truth, of your strength, of your compassion, now and forevermore. Okay. So much love to each of you. Good night, everyone. Good to be with you.